All right, guys, it's a little bit later than we wanted to get the picks video out, but nonetheless, we have the spreadsheet done. So it's up on Twitter. It's at FastCarsFM. It's about 4 o'clock Eastern time. So still got a handful of hours before the race. So still plenty of time to get those lineups in there, but we'll just kind of jump right into it. So now that practice and qualifying is done, we kind of have a good indication of, what drivers we want to play, what drivers we don't want to play. Starting at the top range, you have John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith, Ben Rhodes, and Chandler Smith. I think you can make an argument for any of these drivers. I think John Hunter Nemechek is going to carry a lot of ownership. The KBM has been, I forget what the stat was. They've won 6 out of the last 7 or 7 out of the last 8, intermediate 1.5 mile tracks that we've been to, something like that. So KBM knows what they're doing when they get to these 1.5 mile tracks. John Hunter Nemechek is the best driver. He's in the best truck. The only potential fear is if he loses, the start early on, or with the truck series, with how many cautions that we typically see, him not having that short run truck to really jump out to the early lead. That could be the only thing that could potentially hurt him. But other than that, as always, we're going to have a lot of John Hunter Nemechek in our lineups. Zane Smith is going to be an interesting, kind of more of a GPP option. I don't think he's going to come in as high owned as John Hunter Nemechek. Really like his truck. He's been running fast all year long. Again, he's a little bit of a price discount, but probably not a for sure thing to get out front. Like, so when you think of the 1.5s, you think of KBM. So I think if you can try to focus on some of those KBM drivers to be kind of your lap leaders, I think that is the way to go. Ben Rhodes didn't really show the best practice times and didn't really qualify the best either. However, we know this is a top 5 contending truck. We know that they're going to get it figured out and dialed in. And just because you were slow in practice and qualifying doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be slow in the race, just because it's, they practiced it at 12 o'clock and they're racing at 8 o'clock. So the track is going to be very different. The sun's going to be going down. The cars are going to handle, or like I should say, the trucks rather are going to handle a little bit different. Gives you a lot of place differential upside. So if you're playing Ben Rhodes, you're playing him to lead or later in the race. I wouldn't play him as an early lap leader. So if you are playing Ben Rhodes, make sure you're pairing him with a driver who's probably in the first, second, third, or fourth. Chandler Smith is probably another interesting GPP option. He gives you a little bit of a price discount from John Hunter Nemechek. He has had a couple of bad finishes in a row recently, which might lower his ownership a little bit. Kind of like, John Hunter Nemechek between the two of them, but I think Chandler Smith is still a good GPP option, and especially should be considered if you are building multiple lines. Enfinger was kind of in the same boat as Ben Rhodes. Didn't really love his truck in practice and qualifying, but we know that the place differential upside and the finishing potential upside is there. So again, if you are playing Enfinger, he's a little bit more of a place differential play. Pair him with an early lap leader, whether that's John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith, Chandler Smith, even Ty Majeski, like a driver who starts further up in the front of the field. You want to pair them with those place differential plays. Eckes didn't really show the best speed. He's kind of hit or miss. He's still going to be in our player pool. Corey Heim is kind of the contrarian play. So I would, if you are fading John Hunter Nemechek, I think Corey Heim is an interesting argument to kind of plug into your lines. If you potentially think he could get out the front and lead the early portion of the race, I don't think he's going to carry a ton of ownership. I think people might be afraid of playing him second. But it is a really interesting way to get different. And if you are fading John Hunter Nemechek, I probably wouldn't play both of them together, although KBM has been fast. So it wouldn't surprise me. Both of them did finish in the top 5, but most likely only one of them is going to be picking up, the dominator points. So for me, it's grabbing one of those early lap leaders and then trying to build place differential plays around them. Riley Herbst is a little bit more of a GPP play. I think he's going to finish right around where he starts. I don't think he's going to carry a lot of ownership. Stuart Friesen technically is, I don't know if he is scored from 5th place, since Bubba Wallace was the one who qualified that car. Regardless, he's going to start from the rear of the field. So I think he is scored from the 5th position, and then if that's the case, we don't really want anything to do with Stuart Friesen. If he was starting dead last, scored from dead last, I think we would be a lot more interested in playing him. But starting 5th, having him go to the rear, he'll be able to make his way back up there, but it's just way too risky of a play for us. Ty Majeski, probably going to be coming very, very low owned, extremely GPP type of option. Matt Crafton, probably another GPP play, showed good speed last week at Darlington, but don't really love him starting 10th. He is rather cheap. Much rather just drop down and grab Tyler Ankrum, who gives you a little bit more place differential. He kind of starts right in the middle of the field. Matty D has been showing flashes of speed recently. This team just it's a little bit of a roller coaster, if you watch them throughout the race weekend. So he's probably going to be low owned, but I'm probably not going to have a ton of ownership to him. Same with Derek Kraus, just starts too high. Tanner Gray, probably not going to have a ton of Tanner Gray. He did have good speed, but I would prefer he started a little bit deeper in the field. I don't really see myself getting to Chase Purdy or Jack Wood or really even Colby Howard today. They all showed good speed, but if one of those drivers is in your line and one of them wrecks out, it's really just going to kill your line. I think you're much safer dropping down to some plays that have similar upside, similar finishing potential, who start deeper in the field, like Austin Wayne Self, maybe a Haley Deegan or Dean Thompson. I mean, Dean Thompson is pretty risky there, starting 19th. Don't want anything to do with Tate Fogelman. Every time Tate Fogelman looks like the chalk play, he always busts. He always gets into issues, and this car has already been having issues in practice and qualifying. So can't really hurt your line, but I think he's going to be pretty high owned. And if he does bust, or if he does get into problems, yeah, it might not hurt the other people's lines, but it's certainly not going to help them. And it's only going to allow us who aren't rostering those drivers to, hopefully jump above them in the tournaments. Going to have a ton of Timmy Hill. He's just a driver who's consistently, keeps it clean and gets better finishes out of, the truck than he should. Lawless Allen got a little bit loose in his qualifying run. So, I think he has a top 20 truck, but it's just a risky play. Like, he's not necessarily known as being the best driver. Same with Chris Wright. I think they are pretty similar plays. It's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster if you roster them. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them and or both of them spin at some point, but as long as they can stay on track, we know those Nice trucks have the speed. Jesse Little starts a little too far up for us. Not really going to get to Spencer Boyd or Matt Mills. Tyler Hill, maybe if you need like a really low punt play. Our fear is he didn't really show that good of speed in practice and qualifying. The truck really isn't sponsored. I think he's more or less just out there to make laps and kind of collect the paycheck. And you can kind of make the argument for anyone down here too. So if I can, I'm going to try my best. I haven't built any lines yet, but I'm going to try my best to not go below Chris Wright. I think hopefully I can get the drivers that we want to, but we'll post this up on Twitter. Really quick picks video. The Cup cars look to be on track right now and going through practice and qualifying, or will be here shortly. So we'll get that spreadsheet done and posted in with the picks video as well. But any questions or comments, drop them down in the comments below. Hit us up on Twitter. But best of luck with the race tonight, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.